Hello lands, lassies, and those of unspecified gender, it's the Irishman here, and today we're going to be talking about what would have happened if you were in Dragon Ball. Yes, I mean you, the person currently watching this. What if you were just plopped down in the Dragon Ball universe? Will you be a hero, a villain? Will you be relevant or fade into obscurity? Ultimately, it's up to you, although you're not going to have much control until the next video. Think of this like your superhero origin story. I'll tell you how you begin in the Dragon Ball world and implement you into it. Although, for everything else, I'll rely on comments and suggestions from this video, and then carry on with the third part with suggestions from the second. We're going to be crafting the perfect story with you as the main character, although it's not just you. In fact, you're sharing the spot with about 5,000 other people, so keep your suggestions tame. Maybe one day I'll get around to setting up a Patreon, that way you can each get your own individual stories for a certain fee, although because I'm too lazy to like money, I guess we're going to have to wait on that. For now, go down to the comments and suggest any ideas you might have, and while you're at it, if you could, like the video, subscribe to the page, and hit the notification bell. But without wasting any more time, let's get into your story as a what if. Starting off with what our main character looks like, the person representing all of you. Well, it's definitely gonna have to be a guy. Sorry to all the lassies and unspecified gendered people out there watching this video, it's just the lads have an overwhelming majority here. As for age, you guys are going to stay about the same as Goku, Bulma, and Krillin, around 20 to 25 when Dragon Ball Z starts. As for appearance, we're not going to get into that for this video, just because I want to base whatever the character looks like off of your guys' suggestions. Again, this is mostly up to you. For now, think somewhere between Yamcha and Teen Goku, in that sort of range. And spoiler alert, but you are going to be fighters, so no matter how you look, you're going to be slim. Well, slim for Dragon Ball standards. You're going to be jacked, but closer to adult Gohan than Spopovich. As for race, I'm sorry to break it to you guys, but you're going to be a human. Sure, it's a lot funner to be a Saiyan or a Majin or a member of Frieza's race, although human is definitely the most likely outcome. It's a little boring, but we'll say you're gifted. You have the same sort of potential as any other Saiyan or Namekian, although you don't have any of the fun transformations, at least not for now. We're first introduced to you as a character as you enter the 22nd Tenkaichi Budokai. You were a high school graduate and realized your best chance at making any real money wasn't going to be academically, so you started learning martial arts. You had practiced it before, but it definitely wasn't your main interest. You would have rather spent your time hanging out with friends or watching anime videos online. But now, this was your main priority. You could make some serious cash if you were to win this thing. You certainly didn't think you were the strongest under the heavens, but you thought you might be able to come a little close. First place was a life-changing amount of money, although third was still a couple months of rent, so you definitely wanted to throw your hat into the ring, and you were able to get pretty far. You didn't have to face off against any of the heavy hitters in the tournament until later on, when you were pitted up against Krillin. Try as you might to overcome the Turtle Hermit way, there was nothing you could do against Krillin. He was incredibly powerful in his own right, even if he didn't really compare to Goku, even now. You weren't too upset about your loss though, it was mostly wishful thinking to even get to third. Although you do wonder just how Krillin got that strong, and would ask about it after the match. He would explain that he trained under this guy named Master Roshi, who was ultra powerful and a great teacher. Not only that, he also had the best training partner ever, Son Goku, who was unnaturally strong and was even in the finals. You'd watch the battle between Goku and Tien and are surprised at just how strong these guys are. Whatever training they're doing is on another level entirely, and you want to be a part of it. You'd find this Master Roshi guy, although in the most unexpected way. as when you go to the bathroom, you see some old guy doing his makeup in front of the mirror. For a second, you think it's a man trying to cover up some wrinkles. It's perfectly reasonable, although you then realize it's somebody trying not to get caught. Given the description of Master Roshi that you got from Krillin, and the fact that this guy is also a fighter in the tournament, you're able to put two and two together. Master Roshi is cosplaying as his favorite fighter in the Strongest Under the Heavens tournament, Jackie Chan. Obviously, he doesn't want you to tell his students because that'd just be embarrassing. So as a way to bribe you, since you are still a fighter in this tournament, he offers to give you his ultra special training, teach you the Turtle Hermit way, and craft you into an unstoppable warrior. Obviously, you agree, so once the tournament's over, you will be brought to Kame House with Master Roshi, Krillin, and Goku. Or at least, that was the plan. As when you return to the contestants' booth in the tournament grounds, you see Krillin's dead, and Goku has rushed off to avenge his friend's death. You're absolutely terrified. You had no idea getting murdered was on the table here, especially not by demons. But then, before you have any time to process what's going on, you see another one of Piccolo's spawn here to kill you as well. You were a powerful warrior, top 10 in the world even if you didn't take training as a full-time commitment, and now you're being hunted because of that strength. The Demon King sees you as a potential threat, or at least that you might become one, but for the moment, you absolutely aren't. So when the spawn of Demon King Piccolo tries to take you out, he'd probably be successful. Although Master Roshi isn't going to let that happen. As far as he's concerned, you're one of his students now, and he's not gonna let you kick the bucket that easy. In fact, he actually needs you alive for a very specific task, performing the Mafuba, a ritualistic technique that's able to seal away even the strongest of enemies. But Master Roshi can't do it alone. If he were to, it might not even work and he'd probably die. So he needs your help lest the entire world plunge into chaos. You take a second to respond because obviously this is a difficult choice. Although Roshi tells you if you don't help him, you'll probably die anyway. King Piccolo has already sent people after you just because you're a martial artist, so it's your best chance. Either definitely die as a coward, or maybe die as a hero, and I'm confident I know which one you're going to choose. As scary as it is, it's time to be a hero, so you go off with Roshi in search of King Piccolo. It takes a while to get to where Piccolo is currently located, so you begin practicing the Mafuba technique. You wouldn't actually be sealing anything away, although you were still practicing the movements and positions, and you get them down packed pretty easy. After a while, you actually do find King Piccolo and take your final stance against him. Roshi gets into position with you right behind him. He gets out the jar and places the sealing tag on it, before shouting Mafuba, doing the dance as you mimic it perfectly, and Piccolo is suddenly shot down into the pot. Quickly, you rush over as Roshi hits his knees. He's still alive, although only barely, as you put the lid on top of the jar and wrap the tag around. You immediately bring Roshi to the nearest hospital, clutching the pot next to you as firmly as you can. You don't want Piccolo getting out of there, ever. He was a scary 7-foot-tall demon. Piccolo Jr. is pretty cool, but his father is absolutely terrifying. While driving the flying car that you and Roshi arrived on to the nearest hospital, you hear on the radio that Piccolo flattened an entire city. You begin clutching the jar even harder than before. But sadly, you didn't know your own strength, and suddenly the jar begins to crack, and then it begins to shatter. Soon it bursts open and Piccolo is released, although not wanting him to be in the same car as Roshi, who is currently near dead, you throw the pot with the escaping spirit out of the car and onto the ground. Not only was he just sealed away, but thanks to you, he also just fell a couple hundred stories without the ability to fly up. So he's in pretty critical condition as well. You decide to fly to the ground to see just how hurt he really is, before realizing you have the opportunity to end him right here and right now. Sure, you don't love the idea of taking another life, although this guy massacred an entire city, just cuz, so you're more than willing to put an end to his tyranny. You get on top of him and start wailing over and over and over. Punch after punch, his face becomes increasingly more bloody, until eventually he spits up an egg, that way he can survive in some form. The egg had the last little bit of life force that he had left in him, so you didn't actually need to be the one to pull the trigger, he practically did it to himself, which definitely takes a bit off your conscience, but now, you're not sure what to do with the egg. Abortion is a really touchy subject, but what if it's the Antichrist? You're not really sure what exactly to do, so instead you just get back in the helicopter and bring Roshi to the hospital ASAP. Remember, he's about to die. After arriving to the emergency room, you hand Roshi over to the paramedics, who aren't really sure what to do. The Mafuba definitely did put a physical strain on his body, but not in any one location. It was all around energy depletion. His ki is low, and these guys aren't witch doctors. They can stitch up a bullet wound, but what are they supposed to do for ki shortage? His body is pretty torn up, so they put him in a full body cast, as well as hooking him up to a liquid IV, that way they can restore him some energy without him needing to eat or drink anything on his own. As for you, the doctors prescribe some painkillers as well as cast up your hands, because you're probably pretty bloody and bruised from punching the absolute crap out of King Piccolo.